Well, my baby, she done left me alone. Said I was a no good and head out on the road. But you ain't gonna see me cry, ain't gonna see me shed no tear, mama, no. Why would I cry? I got 6 more waiting on that telephone. That operator praises me, he praises my name. He's been working overtime since you went away.
Well, what's up? What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? What a week it has been. And it's only Thursday. We still have Friday. We still have the weekend. What's up, Tommy?
What's up?
Ladies
I'm doing great.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have Tommy Mello here. For those of you living under a rock and don't know. Hey, Tommy, let me ask you. I thought about this for a second because there's some people that listen to this podcast that are outside the industry, right? They're not in home services. They may just be in sales. They may not even be in sales. They may just like enjoying conversation. So like if you were to elevator pitch somebody, never met you, doesn't know who you are, doesn't understand your, a lightning storm of a person. What's your elevator? Who are you?
Yeah, I'm originally from Michigan, born in 1983, Sterling Heights, Michigan. And parents got divorced when I was 7. Entrepreneurial background. Dad owned a transmission shop. Mom was a real estate agent. Wanted to go to dental school, got pre-dental classes, took 65 credits of anatomy, physiology, biochemistry. Decided to get a master's in business, and I started a garage door company in 2007. 800 employees now. This year we're pacing if this acquisition that a small one coming through, do about 270 million this year. I like to golf. I love my dogs. I love my girlfriend, which I'll be married to down the road here. Faith, family, fitness, and finance are the 4 F's I kind of abide to. I love bowling. I love the lake. I love shooting pool. I make a lot of time to do the things I love. I love fun cars that I grew up kind of loving. And
what was it? Faith, family, fitness, and what?
Faith, family, finance, and fitness.
Finance and fitness. Very cool. Tell me about the fitness, man. I'm watching you, dude. You're jazzed. You make me look small, bro. I'm like, what the heck? I can't even keep up with this guy.
So it's interesting, at every level, I devour books, a couple of books a week. I speak on a lot of stages. The company's doing great. My family's healthy, spend a lot of time with them. And I've always worked out. I just wasn't pushing it. My cousin Rachel called me and she said, everyone in the family looks up to you. You just, everything you touch kind of turns to gold. She's like, but why don't you love yourself? And she's got a PhD in fitness and nutrition. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, go in the mirror and take off your shirt. And the tear came down my eye. I spent a couple minutes looking and I'm like, this is unexcusable. I was probably drinking too much, not getting the right amount of sleep, not eating properly, not going all in on my workouts, not taking the right supplements. And so I scrolled through my phone. I found the best, most in shape person I could find. Like, I know a dude, he's got an 8-pack, doesn't work out that hard. I called him up. He goes, well, you got to go to my doctor. You got to find out. The guy tests for like 5 major things, leaky gut, checks out your whole testosterone levels and all this other stuff. And there was all kinds of stuff that I got on. Peptides, got my leaky gut fixed, got a multivitamin. The TRT I've been on for 7 years, but I wasn't doing it right. And so we went through all these blood tests, saliva tests, urine tests, and fixed me up. And now I'm taking protein and creatine regularly. The TRT does not work. It's just supposed to stabilize your testosterone when you were 25. So you don't abuse it. And then different peptides to have your body kind of heal faster and what the peptides do. So, I got a trainer, I've got a chef, I've got a nutritionist, I've got the doctor, I've got the motivation.
Stuff that everybody can do. Stuff that anybody who's anybody can have, right? Chefs.
Yeah, I'm a little bit spoiled, but I went and got the DEXA scan. I bought an Oura ring because I keep track of stuff. I track my sleep, my resting heart rate, my steps per day, activity level, and I was 27% body fat. I'm 10.5. I'll get to 8% here in the next 3 months. And I threw 225 on the bench on Saturday. Did it 29 times. By the end of the year, I want to be able to do it 33 times.
Oh, nice.
I do about 400 push-ups a day.
You're
I walk
ready
for
to catch up.
5 miles. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, man. And it's so important. Like, my mental health is so much better. Like, yes, there's a little bit of vanity. I want to look good with my shirt off. Because quite frankly, I was embarrassed. I looked at the last 10 years of pictures, even with me at a pool or a lake, and I was in the pool with a T-shirt on. Just not confident with myself. And there was no excuses except for me.
Yeah, that's a standard that you set for yourself, though, because I mean, if you look back at pictures, I mean, you weren't by any means by norms, by societal norms, right? And so this probably goes into the psyche of why you are who you are, because you hold yourself to a higher standard. And so actually you and I met, I don't know if we met probably just a few years ago, and you may have said, oh, well, yeah, I was drinking too much. I was out of shape. I mean, you were still a lean guy. It wasn't like you were, you weren't a bit, you weren't, your gut wasn't spilling over your knees. Right. But I understand that. I mean, it goes into the whole, the whole psyche. Right. And I was just reading about this in this book, Atomic Habits too. Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've read that book. Yeah.
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 Great. Yeah. Here's the deal, Everett. The more I work on me, there's this thing called the law of the lid. And what it talks about is the company, your life grows as you grow. So I'm working on myself. This year I've spent $1 million on myself, on consulting, getting consultants. I've got 2 speaking coaches. I've got, like I said, a chef. I've got a trainer, a nutritionist. I work with Dan Martell. We work with Al Levy. I just hired this guy, Brennan Kane. I work with Cameron Harold starting. I've got another consultant that's starting next month with the Cialdini Institute. I spend a lot of money on myself because I do believe the more I grow and the more my team grows, I want them working harder on themselves than in the business. And it's something I've learned recently.
Michael Gugliaro said the same thing, by the way. He said that in his career, he's probably spent about $2 to $3 million on himself, on self-development. That's very interesting to hear from 2 people at, that kind of level. Let me ask you a question. Because you're big on culture, you're big on building culture within your organization. Was that motivated by, were you ever treated poorly? Was there ever a bad situation where you were like, I am never running an organization like that?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, listen, when I was a busboy at Cheesecake Factory, the worst thing people would tell me is because I said so and I'm your boss. But that really didn't influence much. I think the fact is that I've learned that if the culture if you don't plan on building your culture, it'll get made for you. It's kind of like your reputation. If you don't go and do things outgoing and be a person of your word, there's a lot of people that say what they're going to do, but they lie to themselves, and they're always lying. You ever stop taking people seriously because they say they're going to do something? I see a lot of people that are like, I'm going to do this, and they never do it. And it's like you stop paying attention, because one thing is, if you keep lying to yourself, it's very hard to get ahead. You stop believing in yourself. You stop believing that it's the truth, and your subconscious kind of takes over and just says, disregard. We don't need to do this. And so I try to keep my word. I reverse engineer where I'm going. It's KPI mathematics driven, and everything, whether it's getting in shape, even like getting it on the calendar to go to church and spend time reading about God. I mean, everything we talk about, there's an intention behind it, and I keep my promises to myself, and that's the most important word I can keep.
Can you tell me about that? When did this journey start? Like, recently I watched videos I thought were very inspiring. As someone who, I got baptized just a couple years ago, and my journey was really, I'd love to hear yours.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been a born again Christian. I went to a private school when I was really young, and then I switched to public school. And I always went to church, but I got away from it. There's seasons of life. You got to really enjoy the church you go to. And hopefully you enjoy going, because a lot of people go to like Catholic church and it's in Latin and they go to the communion. They kind of feel like they have to get to heaven. I actually enjoy my church. It's called Impact Church. Well, my dad, let me just tell you this story. My dad was really, really bad during COVID. I mean, his oxygen level was low. He was in the ICU. And I bribed the ICU. I bought them breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, and they let me in. And I got a phone call from my sister one day. I was taking him from hospital to hospital to hospital. He was in and out for like a year. And Kia, my sister, said, Dad's going to die today. His oxygen level just dropped rapidly. They're thinking about putting him on the ventilator. And I dropped to my knees, and I'm crying, thinking I'm going to say goodbye to Dad. I mean, just now thinking about it is devastating. I'm very close with my dad. And I just started praying. And I said, God, Jesus, if you let Dad live, I'll be a better son. And if you let my dad live and give me a second chance, every opportunity I get, I'll exalt you. I'll give you credit for everything in my life. And I've not done a great job of that. And my dad, I saw him and he was on his deathbed and he said, I'm not ready to go. And his Bible and the pictures of me and my sister when I was a kid. And not only did he pull through, within a year and a half, we were golfing. And I got a phone call about a year and a half ago. And a guy called me and he goes, you don't know me very well, but I know you. And he goes, I don't want you to think this is a weird call, because I've only had this happen once in my life. But I had a vision of you crying and you made a deal with God. He goes, does that happen? And I didn't tell anybody this story. And I got goosebumps. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, just make sure you keep your promise. I don't know what it was, but he's watching, and just as quick as he gave it to you, he could take it away. And man, that was crazy. So if you give me a chance to talk about it, I'm going to keep that promise. It's pretty important. I don't know if it's my dad's health or my success, or could be a combination of everything, but probably not the guy you want to cross. the Lord. So, and then we started going to Impact Church, Travis Hearn. We fell in love with the sermon and the message. And I called Mom and Dad and I said, do you remember getting me baptized? And they said, we know your sister did, but we're not sure if you did. So I'm like, I'm going to make sure. And Bree did it with me. And it's great. And I started hanging out with a lot more people that believe in Jesus. And they don't just believe, but they try to live their lives. I'm never trying to get people to believe in Jesus. I want them to watch me and say, and I'm very tired today. I didn't get a lot of sleep. Very rare for me. But I want them to watch me and say, that's a guy that I want to know what he's doing. I want to live by example and have people say, whatever he's doing, whoever he's got on his side, I want to know more. I don't want to have to persuade people. I want to model it, if that makes sense.
Mm. You didn't know this guy that came up to you?
No, he called. I mean, I had met him once, but I didn't remember meeting him.
Wow. That's odd, right? I mean, that's a really odd story. Wow. That's very cool, man.
Yeah, it was crazy. And yeah, my dad means the world to me. I mean, my parents mean the world to me. My sister, my niece, my nephews, Bree. I mean, literally, like, I'm not good with death. I don't comprehend it. Even when my grandma died, it was very close to my grandma as well. It didn't hit me at first till I saw the casket, and I just lost it. And I have a way of putting stuff in a kind of a bottom drawer somewhere. And I don't like to open those drawers very often, because once you open it, you can't put it back in.
Yeah. And,
a lot of people say to confront those things. They do an ayahuasca trip or get a psychologist, shrink to help them. I don't, the theory is you take those things out, you fold them up, and you imagine this whole thing is full of Kleenexes all stuffed up. You take each one out, you fold it up, you put it back in. It's not a problem. You can fit a lot more in there. I've confronted a lot of things. It hasn't done a whole lot for me. Gino Wickman talks about it in his book, Shine. Because guys like me, we'll go to the top of Mount Everest, and I enjoy the hike. But a lot of people don't like the hike. They only want the views, and they wonder why they're not lucky, and I'm so lucky. And I'm like, man, it's weird. The harder I work, the more luckier I get. But, what I've realized about myself is I enjoy the hike. I get to the top of the mountain, but I always find another mountain. And I've always got to find another mountain.
Yeah, at some point in time, it's definitely, and I told this to my daughter the other day, we decided we had 2 routes to get to the beach. One route was just the road, and then we'd cross a little bridge. The other route was with a ferry. And we were like, all right, it's the adventure, right? Sometimes it's the journey, not the destination, right? But that being the case, I mean, in this journey that you've had, right? You started out, right? You started out like nothing, right? I mean, am I right? Like you were
old truck, old clothes, used parts, shitty tools, barely making ends meet. I mean, I had a landscaping company. I did decent. I did about 30 grand a month. It was decently profitable. I was bartending. I was bussing tables. I was flipping cars. I was selling total gyms and Bowflexes, buying them in Craigslist, selling them in the Arizona Republic. I knew how to make money, but by no means did I have a lot of money. But I was a hustler. And a few years ago, I decided the hustler had to die for the leader to be born. And no longer could I be ADHDing all over the place. I needed extreme focus. There's a good book called The One Thing by Gary Keller, or Essentialism. And this ultimate focus. Racehorses wear blinders for a reason. They're there to win. And this bracelet says A1 from day one. It's one of my core values, aspire to be number one. I'm not a good loser. I played a lot of sports. I don't care what it is. I'm probably the most competitive person you'll ever meet. And I like to bet on myself all the time.
Yeah. I'd like to race you in something. I don't care what it is. We'll have it. It doesn't matter. Yeah. We'll arm wrestle. I mean, whatever. I mean, I don't care. Yeah. I'm
let's do this. My trainer, he's doing these competitions, and he's like, take this kettlebell that's on a platform. You got to touch the ground. See how many times you could do an 80-pound kettlebell squats, touch the ground all the way up in 1 minute. And this was Saturday. I did it 43 times in 1 minute. And we're starting to do these things to see how far I could go every 3 months. Like I said, 225, I was pretty proud doing that.
Well, 225 in and of itself is, I mean, that's good. 225 doing it 29 times, that's really good. Did you do a work up to it, or like a little warm up to it, or did you do?
No, I started out with just 135.
Yeah.
I did it 12 times, and then I do wear wrist straps. I guard my wrists, and if it's going to be a challenge, everyone can wear wrist straps. It doesn't change anything or cheat anything. I do it because it's a lot of weight in your.
Yeah. So. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I tried to put up what I put up to. Yeah. But only 4 reps. So I guess I gotta go back and do multiples now. I mean, I try to work myself up to whatever it is, but I think I put up about 280 the other day, and I was like, but again, it was like two reps on 280, but then 29 reps, that's a whole nother story. Speaking of cool stuff, bro, Batmobiles, DeLorean,
yeah, so
Back to the Future DeLoreans.
At the end of 2022,
dude, this is insane. Look who's calling.
There was a lot that goes into this one, but what is that?
This is nuts. I don't know if he wants to talk or whatever. This is crazy.
I can't read it. Who is it?
It's Ken. Ken Goodrich.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I hang out with Ken quite a bit. Ken was actually the one that called me that really convinced me to do this. Him and Tom Howard. They were on my board of advisors, and multiples went through the roof through COVID because we were deemed essential. I had a high demand business. We got it to 28 million of EBITDA, and they had said,
Get ahead, because and I want to put a pin in this because I have a specific question about this capitalization. Go ahead.
So, long story short, Tom Howard flew out here. We watched The Big Short. Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. I had more opportunity than the money I had to buy deals. And I wanted to take some chips off the table, and I felt like it was the right time. We were growing exponentially. And, we ended up setting a record in the home service space, pretty close to 600 million. I had an equity incentive program. 100 million went to 25 people. I rolled half of that, so that's still in the company. And then I had $200 million. Then I had to pay taxes, and I paid off all my real estate. Paid off my 2 commercial buildings, paid off the 2 apartment complexes. I got with Goldman Sachs, did the trust, really working on tax strategy. But the reason I say this is not much changed. It was a great day, and it was great watching people win on my team. And everybody that I worked with in the past, I gave a lot of money to. It didn't work for me anymore. I was gifting them quite a bit of money if they helped me grow the company. Took care of my aunts and my cousins and stuff like that, my mom and sister, my dad. And moral of the story is, I wanted to do something cool for myself. So I wanted a house that I could have all my family, friends, the A1 family at the house. So I bought a really big house, and I love the house. And now we're building another house down the road, 5 acres. It'll be 50,000 square feet. Building the house in Idaho.
In Phoenix?
Yeah, it's in Paradise Valley, right on the base of Camelback. I wanted to, like I don't care about Ferraris and Lamborghinis and nice watches. I wanted an 85 DeLorean, like Back to the Future 2. I wanted the original Adam West Batmobile or a replica of it. I've got Herbie. I've got Kit from Knight Rider. I'll probably end up getting the 80s version of the Batman, 80s, 90s. I'll probably get Ghostbusters. I got a 67 Chevelle. I got Richard Rawlings actually doing another one. I've got, my TRX, G-Wagon, whatever Breeze got that we just got. But
Shaggin' Wagon, Scooby-Doo?
I don't got the Scooby-Doo either yet. But, this new house will have a lot of room. I think there's like 18 garage spots, so I'll probably end up filling that up. And I just do the stuff I want to do, but I didn't live in a trailer park, but I always say you can take the guy out of the trailer park, but you can't take the trailer park out of the guy.
Yeah.
And I still have a broke mindset. The more I spend, the more I work. It's weird. It's an unfathomable amount of money, and the compound interest and with what I'm going to get at the next turn of A1 is ridiculous. I mean, I'll be a billionaire next year. And I say this so humbly, like I'm not bragging. I promise. I'm not trying to say I'm better than anybody. I mean, I've worked hard. If we went over all the sacrifice, the delayed gratification, the way I lived, people would understand it. And I was ready for the money. I knew always how to make money. I didn't know how to keep it. And I'm really becoming an expert at that. But I want nice things, and I don't want to go to Disney World. I want to cut all the lines and stay in a penthouse and fly private.
Right, which at this point in time, you've pretty much earned, right? I mean, now you can do all the cool stuff. There has to come a point where you're kind of like, man, I can do stuff that I used to think about, and I stopped thinking about it. Now I got to go back and think like, what did I want to do? Because, right, we do this, right? When you're a kid, you have an imagination that's just absolutely crazy. And you're like, oh man, I wish I could do this. And I wish I could do that. And then life kind of goes, no, you can't do that. There's no way. You don't have the money. You don't have the resources. You can't do it. And then one day, you have this fairy tale, and it's like, holy shit, I worked hard enough to get all this stuff. And now I can do all this cool shit. So now I got to ask you, one, what's one thing you want to do that you haven't done? And also, what's one vehicle that one of those, one of those really cool kind of DeLorean-esque vehicles that you wanted that you don't have, that you now are like, yeah, no, I need to get this vehicle from this movie or whatever it is.
So I'm making a massive bucket list, and I'm actually manifesting everything that happens over the next 30 years. What I did that was extraordinary. A couple massive things. When I was 42, here's what you did. One of the things you can't buy is I want to have a family. I want to be a father. So I got to get cracking. I'm going to be an old ass dad.
Good.
But yeah,
it'll be
for
the
me,
best
man,
gift you ever. It'll be the best thing you ever did in your whole life. I promise you. And I have single friends who I see on their social media, and they've gone to Disney and all. I mean, they've gone to Tahiti and all these islands and stuff like that. And I look at my little kids and I go, well, they're not little anymore. But anyway, I look at them and I'm like, I can't. There's no way in the world that I could possibly trade that smile. And I have 5 kids, man. So
holy shit.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah. I always say I'm a dad first and everything else second, Tommy.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And I've worked hard to be able to bring them into a world that they don't have to grow up like I grew up.
For
so
sure.
I also want to be very careful that they don't end up trust fund spoiled brats. But for me, it's that, you know, I got everything I want. The next thing is a PJ. But I'll do that in 2026. But I'm just excited to see these.
A PJ?
Private jet. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there was a lingo for it. You want to fly in a plane. Yeah. Got it. Yeah.
And we got a card that we fly private, and I still usually fly commercial because, you know, there's this thing at, what is it called? Concierge key. I get right on the plane and first class. Look, for me, I still have a hard time spending money on $100,000 to go back and forth to Florida. I just still have a hard time condoning that. And I know it'll change as the years go by, but I still remember where I was and how hard I still work.
It's $100,000 from where to where? To do what to what?
Phoenix to Florida and back to Phoenix.
It's $100,000?
It's $100,000.
Huh. Just to fly private?
Just to fly private. Yeah, there's two. You've got the plane. You've got 2 pilots. There's insurance. There's all kinds of crap.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not cheap. Even to go to Idaho is $40,000 there and back.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd be interested. Can you look back and say to yourself, like, okay, this was the biggest failure that I've had? Because we talk about all these successes. I'm curious as to what you view in your career as the biggest failure that you've had.
Few things come to mind. Naming A1 shouldn't have been A1 Garage Door Service, because even though I got an irrevocable, incontestable trademark, there's 93 other A1s. Expanding too fast, I had to close down 4 markets. That was a lot of medicine to take. Not finding Al Levy in the 7-power contractor earlier. You know, I never used to fire, and now we top grade all the time. If you got a will, I'll find a way. But yeah, you know, I think that every mistake I've made has shaped me. So I don't know if I change a lot of it, but there was a lot of things, man. The DUI, that was a tough one.
When was that?
15 years ago. So it just kind of screwed up a lot of stuff for me. It's kind of a character trait. People look at that and like, even going through, like, there's so many people I have to explain to, even when I get this, like, the private equity deal. I mean, it was like, you got to explain these things.
Yeah. Like, why did you have a Dewey? Right.
They turn over every unturned stone. And it's like, it's more uncomfortable than a colonoscopy going through a PE deal. I mean, it's like they're looking at everything. You know, and they're probing. They're putting a lot of money into your business and giving you a lot of money. So
yeah, that's kind of their job, right? I mean, and I've seen things. I saw one last year that completely fell apart. Huge deal. We're talking, you know, $50-60 million deal. Just fell apart. Like, guys are there uncovering, looking at the books, and next thing you know, it's like, you know, the LOI, the whole deal. What was, you talked about firing people, top grading. What was the hardest termination you've ever had to make?
Every single termination that I make that's not due to, if you lie, cheat, or steal, I do not give a shit. You're fired.
Sure. Yeah.
But there's been a lot of, you know, my COO, Adam Cronenberg, took us to such an amazing level. And a lot of the other managers told me that they weren't going to be here if he stayed. And It was just I bonused him. Well, it was my fault because I made his pay structure a little bit more based on bottom line, and everybody else's was on growth. So he was trying to stay conservative, not invest in new ideas. And they just, the law of the lid was he could take us so far, but he was the gatekeeper and he was the no man, and he would fire people for me. And I think he heard a lot of ideas and just got to the point where it was just no matter what. So that was the tough one. The two toughest things was breaking up with my partner in 2010, Gabe, and figuring out how to deal with Adam. And it was, dude, I lost months of sleep trying to get a plan together. It wasn't like a tough day. It was a tough quarter getting the balls to do it.
Wow.
And there's a new way of doing things now. Now I just ask for commitment. If you don't keep up to your commitment, it's very easy to tell you. You're going to help build the commitment on what it is. If it's too low, I'm going to interfere. But it's got to be your idea. The way that I describe it is if you're at a bowling alley, you're picking the pins in what alley, what lane. They're picking the bowling ball, the weight, and the holes in the left or right-handed. They got to come to their conclusion on how to get to your vision. And I give them a lot of flex, but they got to be committed and they got to make a commitment. And I don't do well with people that don't keep their commitment. And if they say they're going to do something, I don't say try. You got to say a statement, I will. And when you don't keep it, and you came up with the goals. And if it's not a big enough goal, I'm going to say, no, let's reverse it. It needs to be more than that. And like I said, you're as strong as your weakest link. So Jack Welch did a great job at GE. He replaced 20% of the people every quarter. They talk about, let's see, built to last, Jim Collins, get the right people on the bus. I get people that are way smarter than me now. That was another character flaw. I like to be the smartest guy in the room. Now I try my damnedest and I do a pretty good job of being the dumbest guy in the room.
Yeah, I noticed that in a lot of your videos, things, and when you do interviews, you've changed. And I actually started to think about that. You delegate a lot of responsibility and then you just hire people that are really good at things. And let's
pay them extremely well. And I start with their goals and I think what's in it for them. And it's not just money. It's life-changing stuff. It could be vacations. It could be a lot of different things, but I need them to feel like they're winning all the time and their families are winning. I keep my word.
Why do you think that people gravitate towards your company, right? Do you think they gravitate towards what do you think they gravitate towards?
Well, half the guys that are training follow me and they came to work here because they know I'll take care of them and I keep my word. I tell them in orientation, I do 4 hours. I'm like, I don't need to be here, but I love this. Just like Tiger Woods loves golf. He won 4 majors in a row, Grand Slam. He didn't quit golfing. This is my passion. And what I've done is I do exactly what I want to do. I delegate the stuff I hate. So I come in and never feels like work. But I think people just like the fact I help them understand financial engineering, get out of debt, get the teeth they want, fix their smile, get into shape, get their finances in order. I'm not where I want to be. I could do a much better job as a leader, but it's heavy on my mind. And I'm focused on changing their life, making sure their relationships go good, making sure they get home ownership, making sure they have a healthy relationship. And I try to include the significant other. I've got a dream manager program where we just paid Michael Michalowicz 6 figures to build the Profit First program for my coworkers. We buy into the Dave Ramsey program. We help them budget, personal budget and goals. And, we're not a garage door company. We're life changers. I mean, I always say I'm a software company that does garage doors because we're running so much software. But, I'm in my beginning of the first inning. I'm just getting started. I needed to make a lot of mistakes. I jump out of the plane and build the parachute on the way down, but literally I'm in the fetal stages, man. I'm just getting started. But the thing is, I'm doing a much better job delegating. Dan Martell, buy back your time. I'm buying back a lot of time. And, I look at Elon Musk. I look at some of the Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos. They got 168 hours in a week just like us. They're just much better with their time, and they're much more deliberate. And so that's what I'm doing. And it's not only about the money, but money's fun tokens. Like that house, we have a lot of freaking fun. And Herbie's kind of cool to drive. And I do a lot of stuff that costs money. But also it's time, and I can buy time. You know, the chef is not something I'm proud of. It just makes a lot of sense for me. I had to change the lens I looked at these things. Dan Martell said it's selfish of you not to do these things. Your team needs you more than you need to be figuring out what you're going to eat tonight. And I got a driver. He's amazing. You know, I love my two doggies. I got Huckleberry and Finnegan. Huckleberry and Finn. And I think I know I'm going to be a good dad because I know I'm going to love kids a million times more unconditionally. But I love those dogs like so much. You should see. I mean, it's like they are my kids right now.
I got a buddy who loves his dogs more than he loves his kids, brother. I got to tell you. He's like, hey, you know what? I get my dogs don't talk back.
Yeah, it's true. And a dog, man, and I do believe all dogs go to heaven. Like all they think about all day is the time with you. And they're always happy. And here's the deal. You know, every day they spend with you is 8 days for them. Because their lives are shorter, 7 to 8 dog years per year. And you think about that, and you know that a dog's heartbeat starts racing faster when you say I love you.
Oh, really?
So I tell my dogs all the time. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, Bree loves them just as much. And if anything happens to those dogs, man, it's going to be a rough day. It's going to be a rough year. She said, I was on a walk. I try to walk 3 miles every night. And I was about a mile from the house. She said, Finnegan's doesn't feel good. So I literally ran home. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with him. He's just tired. But I was all worried, getting ready to take him to the vet.
Yeah. I mean, eventually something will happen, right? I mean, that's inevitable, right?
Yeah, death is inevitable unless we could get them cloned or something. Who knows?
I'm sure you probably could get them cloned. It's still going to end,
Yeah.
Go back to when you were like in the field, right? Like what's some like memorable moments that you had, like maybe even like dealing with customers where, I don't know. I'm like thinking of an aha moment. Maybe something crazy happened. I'd be interested to hear your own little war stories.
Well, the weird thing about when I was in the field, I didn't have any inventory systems, but my truck was so organized. I could look at anything and see what I needed at the shop supply. Like I was always the most organized with my tools in my truck. And I got really good. I studied sales. And I just was really genuine. And people always said, are you the owner? And I never told them I was the owner. They're like, this has got to be your company. Well, a funny story was I used to have a real picture of my face on the side of the truck before the cartoon. And 6 years ago, I guess, Dan Antonelli with Kick Charge hooked it up. And I was 40 million, best decision I've ever made. But there was this long-ass driveway, real nice lady, beautiful daughter. She was trying to like do something to hook me up. And they go to give me cookies. And I was grabbing a part for my truck. And she goes, and by the way, this was when I was only running like once a week, nights, weekends, like emergency jobs. And I ran this call and it was a big ticket. And the lady walks out and she's giving me cookies. And she goes, oh my gosh, what an amazing company. They let you put your face on the side of the truck. It was funny, but, I had some I've only been kicked out of a garage and got a 0. Door quotes are different, but on a service call with a broken garage door, I've only been kicked out of one garage. And I went to lift the door, and the guy's spring wasn't broken, but it was 40 pounds. It was heavy as hell. The springs weren't doing their job. And I said, your door's not supposed to be this heavy. And the dude kicked me out. He was senile old man. But what I used to do is create relationships. I used to get 3 reviews from every client. I used to get a video testimonial. I used to get the HOA president's number. I'd put a yard sign. I'd talk to the neighbors. I'd ask them who else they could recommend to me. And I got really, really, really good at building relationships with my clients, like just genuinely caring for them. I bring an air compressor to fill their tires if they were elderly and they were low. I'd help grandma get the Christmas tree down. I'd say, is there anything you need help moving in the house? That I just genuinely cared. And, I really defended my brand. Every time we got a 1-star, I'd call up the client. And there's a story that got printed in the Arizona Republic about me showing up to the lady's house with flowers and fixing it myself. I didn't know that. I don't know how the newspaper picked that up. I think the lady called the newspaper and she was just delighted. I have another story of a lady that got ripped off, wrote a check for a couple grand, little old lady. And I had a PR gal at the time, and she said, hey, would you do this for free for this little kind old lady? I said, absolutely. And she's just like, so she gave me the hug, and she's like 5'2". And she's like, thank you so much. I've had a lot of cool stories. I got invited to church all the time, Thanksgiving all the time. Like, I genuinely miss the days that I could go into a garage and just build relationships. Do I want to do it right now? It's not the best use of my time. But I tell the guys, I don't miss the 140 degrees in the summer. And when I went to Detroit or Wisconsin or Minnesota, I don't miss the 0 degrees days in the garage. But if the weather's decent, and I get along really well with clients, and I just talk to them about them. There's 3 things I found in sales. They need to love you as a person, like and trust you. They need to love the company, and they need to feel loved. And if you can listen and smile and care and repeat back to them and give them options, not ultimatums, and fight for their business, you're going to win in business in a big way.
I like that. I've heard it the other way around, right? Where it's like, hey, listen, there's 3 reasons why anybody does business with anybody, right? 1, they like the company. 2, they like the solution that's proposed. And 3, me personally, right? You like me personally, and I represent. And so, and I actually, I think there was a video where there was a little thing about Grant Cardone and whatever else. And, but there's some psychology there, right? Right. Those three facets. And I think that yours kind of does the reverse, right? It's like saying like, it's taking those same core sort of understandings of things and applying it the other way, which is actually really good. Micah Gugliaro talked about this, and he talked about selling to the subconscious mind. Have you explored this at all? Because what you're talking about, when I'm talking about, is, hey, we've got, traditional methods of, hey, do the right thing, make sure that, listen, you're going above and beyond and all these things. They're very human things. There's not a lot of psychology involved there other than their interpretation, right? There's not. You're going in, you're doing amazing work, you're giving amazing service. You come in, you probably feel really good because you work for an organization that really loves you, right? So then you carry that transfer of belief into the house, right? But have you heard about this subconscious mind?
Yeah, there's a book by Robert Cialdini called Persuasion, not Persuasion. He wrote Influence, but he also wrote, how do you persuade before you start the call? So what do? We spent a long time on how we answer the phone calls. My mom used to answer the phones, and she'd say, thank you for calling A1 Garage Door Service. My name is Gina. How may I help you today? And she'd say, oh my gosh, honey, I am so sorry to hear that. And I didn't realize this at the time, but when I went to those calls, they knew who I was. She said, I'm going to send Tommy out. She never said she was my mom, but he's our best technician. You're going to love this kid. He's amazing. He's going to take care of you. They'd give me a hug, and they were putty in my hands. Persuasion. Number 2, we send from service site a profile. You're going to put form, family, occupation, recreation, material things. You're going to put your family. You're going to put what you do for hobbies. You're going to look great in front of your truck. Even AI doctored up picture. They're going to love you before you get there. We're going to offer a coffee on the way. Hey, Mr. Jones, want to let you know you probably got my profile picture. Headed to Starbucks real quick. Can I grab you a green tea or a caramel frappuccino? It would be my honor to get you something. I'm stopping there anyway.
Yeah.
The way we park, the way our logos look, persuasion. There's a lot of other things. Commitment. When I meet you, I'm going to explain what the process is and say, my only commitment to you is that the door is going to be safe when I finish. Will you allow me to fix this door and make it safe? There's certain things we say in the way we say them, like you never say financing, you say promotions. You never say How would you like to pay? You say, what type of form of payment would you like? There's a lot of psychology that goes into sales, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was very natural, and now there's systems in place.
Sure. I love that. And Tom Hopkins talks a lot about that. Tom Hopkins is probably one of my, I know he's old school. I don't know if you listen to Tom Hopkins at all, but man,
every day cassette tapes, my mom, real estate. Like, the fact is, he never called it a prepayment penalty. He called it a prepayment privilege. It's a privilege to pay it off early.
Yeah.
And Tom Hopkins, the one thing that no one really in the home service space, you need to build a script, and it needs to be an exact script, and you need to be able to repeat exactly what I say in the same tone that I say it. I work with Jeremy Miner, and you need to say the exact script. Don't make it your own. Until you master this, don't make it your own. Now, if you're talking about the Harley and going to Sturgis and Mount Rushmore, that's your own. You know, if you're just talking to the customer, building a relationship, like, there's no script for that. But the way we sell is an exact script, and we've been perfecting it. And next year, dude, I'll get to 35% to the bottom line. I will take care of clients, and I will get a 5-star from every client, and they will be raving fans. We're dialing in things. All I do is I study success. I have no time to criticize anybody not winning. I don't have the time. All I do is study the top 1%, whether it's service agreements, 5-star reviews, 0 callback ratios, who's using the most finance. And we got tools to monitor now in the home. We've got the call center recording tools. I don't have time to, I don't study the cameras to find somebody doing something wrong. We got like 4 guys out of tickets and accidents because we've got the camera systems. My goal, it's tough to work for this company. You got to train. You got to come to Phoenix for a month. You got to get your calls recorded. You got to have your uniform. You got to be able to run calls. You got to, like, I think about how hard it is to work here and what an honor it is that people will do that. But I want them to make a ton of money. And guess what? When they make a fortune, I hug them, and I love it because it's performance pay. And the bigger they win, the more I know I'm winning.
What's the like tech sales rep, whatever it is, to manager ratio at your business?
It's like a 2.7 to 1. I'll get it to a 3 to 1. And by the way, it's whoever turns a wrench versus not turning a wrench. So anybody in the field, if they're earning a check from a client or a form of credit card, so installers, maintenance techs, technicians. So the way you could actually get that ratio better, if you're at a 3 to 1, you're printing money, is you get managers as hybrids that can still do the work, like a field supervisor.
Okay. So do you have, so you're not like traditional sales manager, service manager model where you have 10 guys out in the field and you've got one sort of manager. You're not
we don't do that here.
Yeah.
No, we used to do a 5 to 1. But what I can tell you is we've got a lot of trainers. We're hiring 2 more traveling trainers. And every sale that we go through, we've got a product specialist that's just on the phones. I take my best guys, I take them out of the truck. And HVAC is called a comfort advisor. Ours is called a virtual product specialist.
Yeah, I totally understand that model too, right? You've got somebody who's a senior guy who's on call with these guys, right? And you're saying it's 3 to 1.
Only for door sales. Only for turnovers and door sales. So
right.
Our job, if it's over 10 years, is to sell them a new door. I just believe, here's what you need to do. Josh Kelly taught me this. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you should do. If you were my mom is the love of my life. Everett, my mom means everything to me. This is what I'd be doing for mom.
Yeah, grandma, mom.
Yeah. And then I tell them, go do this if you love your mom or you love your aunt or your grandma. First thing you do is you go give her a new garage door on us. Hook it up with the greatest technology. Get a video testimonial, take the pictures, and show clients what you did for grandma or mom. If we believe in this stuff, it's like the cobbler's kids with no shoes. I want evidence that you'd actually really do this. And you say, listen, the first thing I did when I got back from, I call it SEAL Team 6 training, they taught me how to fix anything. We practiced in the garage so we don't have to practice on your house. And I'm really good at what I do. But the first thing is I looked at my mom's door, who I absolutely adore. And this is what she's got now. This is my mom. This is my mama. And you're a very good human being. I can tell by the conversation. I've met you before, but you have conversations. But it's the words we use, the body language, the tonality, the way we describe stories, and just smiling more. Double down on smiling. It's free. And it just changes your serotonin levels. and your dopamine releases when you smile.
Yeah, there's something sexy and exciting about a garage door, like even aesthetically, like rolling up to a house and you've got that new garage door. Like, wow, look at that new beautiful garage door. There's something really actually very refreshing about that as a sale in general, because I've spent the vast majority in HVAC and plumbing and electrical work. And a lot of times this stuff is unwanted. It's necessary. It's unwanted. And I've for years, right, bring out the sexiness in different options, and there are ways to do that, which actually is an educational process, right? Because typically people are hot, cold, or whatever it is, they're pissed off. Rarely will you get somebody going proactively like, oh my gosh, that variable speed unit, I'm so excited about learning more about it, and I really want to put it in. But somebody would get excited, I think, about a garage door, but like, you know what, that's dinged up, let's get something nice, honey. We'll get something like, it seems like that to me. And I'm understanding that your company is probably opening up that door, right? Opening up the conversation, whereas maybe they weren't thinking about it. But they're like, you know what? Yeah, it is kind of old. It is kind of dinky. Let's explore a new one. And I feel like there's a little more sexiness in it to it. I don't know. Agree, disagree?
Well, I can tell you this. The garage door is 40% of your curb appeal. It's the smile of your home. Remodel Magazine, an unbiased source this past year, said the garage door is 193.7 return on investment. More than your kitchens, more than your bathrooms, more than adding a pool. Not to mention, you save money on your electric bill. If I put a Chamberlain LiftMaster product in, it's got a camera on it. We can let Amazon and Walmart deliver directly into the garage. You can see the usage of your garage. You can let people in. It's just the technology, the quietness. There's a lot of cool things. But, I got to run 22,000 jobs a month. I mean, if I was an HVAC and I ran 1/10 of the calls, I'd be making more EBITDA. So people are like, I'm just going to do what Tommy did. I'm like, dude, if I had to hire just the average cost of an HVAC unit or a replumb or a hot water heater or a water system, like, dude, if I had and our average tickets are good for garage doors, but it's not even in the same hemisphere. And dude, I would already have $10 billion if I was an HVAC. People are like, well, it's a different game. There's more sophisticated operators. I'm like, no offense. There's no operator I can't beat out there because I care more. I know a lot of the best. I've probably been to their shop, and I adore it. Like, I really do. These guys mentored me, whether it's Ken Goodrich, Ken Haynes, Leland Smith, and guys like Tom Howard and Aaron Gaynor. And I'm not saying they're phenomenal. I don't know if I'd go head-to-head with them, but I kind of have learned to win on the marketing side. And 50% of my marketing brain is finding the right people. It's not finding the right clients. I need to find the right technician. I don't need more leads. I need to do more with the leads I've got. And that's through the people in which I recruit.
You have an intensity, and I see, like, I love people who are just fiery and intense. I had Doug Wyatt on here. Have you met Doug Wyatt, by the way? No. Amazing guy. Amazing guy. Anyway, used to be partnered up with Wally Long years ago. Anyway, Synergy Learning Systems. The guy has developed a learning system that is like out of this world. Like Doug Wyatt. For Synergy Learning Systems. The guy's
what? Can you introduce me to him?
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, we were talking. It brings me around because you've got this fire and intensity that I've loved having these conversations with people, because I just love people with intensity, and it's infectious, right? And so it makes sense to me that you would be able to run this empire that you're running right now, and obviously you've got like plenty of PE behind you and all the resources in the world, and I just love this, and I can't wait to see where the path goes. But I want to bring it. I want to bring something forward. I want to bring something back, right? So what is one? And I ask this on every episode. Everybody gets the same question. And I can't wait to put a compilation together. This is going to be amazing. What is the one experience that you've had? And I try to go back to maybe even being in the field, right? With a customer. It could be an employee, like Billy Stevens. It was an employee, right? That it was so profound that it lives with you wherever you go. And I ask you to try to be, sometimes people have answered a little bit more sort of generalized. I would say try to be specific.
Yeah, I got you. So I wrote about it in my book, Elevate, but COVID's going on, the coronavirus. There's no such thing as PPP money at this point. And I remember being on an airplane, and I've been on more planes than most people. And there was so much turbulence, and I felt like we were dropping stories. The lights came off, they're flashing. The lady's holding the refreshment cart. The lady screaming next to me, water and drinks are flying in the air. The mask comes down, and I thought it was it. And the pilot didn't get on for 25 minutes till after the turbulence went away. I thought that was it. I was praying like crazy. And when COVID happened, I said, I need to be a good pilot and let people know what's going on. But lo and behold, I had a line outside of my door as I'm trying to work through this and get a plan on who's going to run these calls. Am I going to go back in the field and what's going on? And Tyler Chaffee walks in my office and he says, hey, man, I know this ain't easy. You know what this company's done for me and my family, right? Like, I know you're going to figure all this out. And I said, yeah, dude, Tyler, I'm building a plan. I'm going to make sure to communicate with you guys every single day and let you know what the plan is and how we're going to make it through. It wasn't a money issue. It was like, I thought 2 out of 3 people might die. We didn't know. It could have been way worse. And there could be a 2.0 that comes out. Who knows? But moral of the story is he goes, well, listen, what I'd really like you to consider is cutting my pay in half. My wife and I saved a lot of money. She makes great money. I would like to take a demotion for now to get us through this. You don't owe me any money. And I'm like, it was like profound. And I said, you don't need to do that, bro. Let me work through some stuff. But I gave him a big hug. And the next girl walks in, one of my call center, Michelle. And she says, listen, I've got 8 sick days that I haven't used. I'd like to give those to people that need them. And also not only the sick days, but all my PTO days. And there was several other people that came into my office that day. I don't know if they got together and decided this. I didn't really do any investigation on it, but I thought to myself, why do they care so much? And I knew I had to elevate my leadership. If they cared that much for each other in this company, I needed to become a better version. And in the compound effect, Darren Hardy writes down 100 things that he wants in a woman before he found her and before he got married. And he reads this list out loud and he goes, there's no way I could pull a chick like this. I better write down 100 things I need to become to have the honor of a person who's falling in love with me. So I wrote down 30 things that day that I needed to become to just next level up. Because if they cared that much, I needed to be 10 times the leader I was. So that's a pretty profound story. Wow. Another story that's real quick is
that got me kind of choked up, man. I'm not gonna lie. That's beautiful.
Yeah. I had a technician, and this dude, best dad ever. This dude was a rising star. He's in Denver. And he used to call me every week and tell me his plans. He's going to just greatness. And he sent me pictures of him and his kids. And on the 4th of July, he sent me this long text. And it said, I'm just so proud to be at your company. And just, I'm so happy with my job. And I'm such a great father because of this job. And you give me time to spend with my family. Later that day, he was playing with fireworks. They went off in his face. He bumped his head and died. I didn't know what to do. We raised a bunch of money, but he left the kids, and life is fragile. Like, I've lost, unfortunately, 6 technicians, not in the field, not when they were working, but I lost my buddy John Rulin recently. It's tomorrow's not promised, and live your life for now. Everybody's trying to get somewhere. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the hike, because tomorrow might not be there. And tell somebody, if you're listening to this right now, for no other reason than to just do it, that you love them. And when's the last time you actually left a note on someone's desk and said how much you appreciate them? And that goes a long way. Because if I could get time back, I would have told this guy how much I loved him. And I don't do that enough, but it's something I've been doing a better job of.
talking about how you have these things, you know, you could go back and you could do you have a ritual that you do? Like, I know you're obviously a pretty well organized guy. You're working on yourself. Do you have rituals? Do you have certain rituals that you do daily, weekly, monthly?
Yeah, I cold plunge, I sauna, I do my walk. I floss, shave. I got this whole shower routine. I'm going to read you a quick quote that I read to my guys when they're graduating. And I spent a long time kind of talking to them the day of graduation. But I'll just read you this quick poem. I am your greatest companion. I am your greatest helper or your heaviest burden. I will push you onward or drag you down to failure. I'm completely at your command. Half of the things you do, you might as well turn over to me, and I'll do them quickly and correctly. I'm easily managed, but you must be firm with me. Show me exactly how you want something done, and after just a few lessons, I will do them automatically. I am the servant of great people and the Alice of all failures as well. Those are who are great, I have made great. Those are who are failures, I have made failures. I'm not a machine, though. I work with the precision of a machine plus the intelligence of a person. You may run me for profit or run me for ruin. It makes no difference to me. Take me, train me, be firm with me, and I will place the world at your feet. Be easy with me, and I will destroy you. Who am I? I am habit. And so the rituals are more for me, they're habits. And you talked about the atomic habit. I find myself, the more discipline I engage in, whether that's not drinking, going to work out when I don't want to, getting up early, cold plunging sauna, eating right, all these things, the more discipline, dude, I floss 3 times a day. Like, the more I listen to this inner discipline voice, the good voice.
I don't know why I found that so funny. I have no idea why I found that so funny. I don't know anybody I've ever met. I'm not even a dentist that I've ever met that has said that they floss 3 times a day. Not a dentist, not a doctor, nobody. That's hilarious. I love it.
Dude, I do a lot. My assistant's job is throwing me every hour to do 50 push-ups.
Hourly
literally
push-ups.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, literally, there's certain hours I don't get to it because my schedule, but her job, literally, she asked me before I walked in here, can you do your 50 push-ups? And she counts them out for me. I said, let's do it when we go over to the Boise house here or the Idaho Sandpoint house. So I got to go in there and do 55 push-ups, actually, in the right when we get done with this. And I say, listen, you need to hold me accountable. And I create accountability and telling others, there might be a time I don't feel like it. There's 2 times not to mess with me if I'm hungry or tired. Those are the 2 evil Tommies. There's this thing on my wall. It says, there's the tale of 2 wolves. And this kid asks his grandfather, Native American, he says, he's talking to his grandson and he says, grandson, there's 2 wolves that live inside of all of us. One is love, care, empathy, and all, all these other graciousness. And the other wolf is anger, it's spite, it's jealousy and envy. And the grandson, it's a war that goes on with these 2 wolves at all times. And the grandson says to his grandfather, which wolf wins? And the granddad said, whichever one you feed.
Yeah.
And I think that that's true. There's one other poem here, and I don't know if I have it, but it's there it is. The master in the art of living makes little distinction between his work and his play, his labor and his leisure, his mind and his body, his information and his recreation, his love and his religion. He hardly knows which is which. He simply pursues his vision of excellence at whatever he does, leaving others to decide whether he is working or playing. To him, he is always doing both. Goosebumps. I love that.
I like that one. I don't know why, but for some reason it came to mind. I moved actually from the Northeast all the way down. I'm originally from Jersey. I moved all the way down to Dallas for like a business opportunity. And the thing that comes to mind actually was I remember watching this very short clip by Gary Vaynerchuk, which you met Gary V. I saw that. I'm sure you've had conversations with him. I love him. He grew up actually right next, like literally, I went to the liquor store that his father owned. That was my liquor store. That was my store. That's where I went to. I lived on that road. And anyway, so he invents it. Long story short, he has this video and he goes, somebody's like, Gary, give me like three words of advice. And Gary goes, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're gonna die. That just came to mind for some reason. Man, I've really loved this conversation. Where does it come from? Okay, so obviously you don't have kids yet. You're getting married, right? You're gonna have kids. You're gonna have 10, 12, 15 kids. We all know that. So, where is it coming? Where is this energy? Where does it stem from?
I don't know about the energy. I've always been this way. You know, for the first 5 years of school, I got to face the classroom. My desk was always next to the teachers, so they had to keep me close. I've always had a lot of energy. You know, when I was, it's not right what happened to me as a kid, but a lot of people have it worse off. But I used to stand on the toilet and listen to my mom and dad argue about bills, and always about money. 4 years old, that's not right. And I always worried. I always felt like I had to be the glue, try to hold the family together. And at 7, they got a divorce, and I spent a long time alone. Mom worked 3 jobs. Dad was trying to be around, but it was hard. My sister was 6 years older. She was out and about. I had my dog, Max. We got pretty close. He was my best friend at the time. And I went to a private school, so no neighbor friends. And I just vowed at 7 years old, money's never going to get in the way of my life again. And I'll never be alone. And I don't like being alone very much. It's something I'm working on. Is I spent too much time of my youth alone. And so Bree's always like, why do you always have to be around people? She's like, we just need some downtime. And I'm like, yeah, I don't do that very often. Now I go for walks by myself, and I started doing more reflection and stuff like that. But you know,
I'm exactly the same way. Yeah. I can't be alone. I have to be surrounded by people like at all time. For some reason, there's some kind of clock that goes on in my mind and says that if I'm not sharing experiences with people, like I just can't, I don't know, maybe I can't live with my thoughts. You know, there's a constant thought going on in my head, and I don't know, maybe it's to tame it. There's probably a lot of, I don't know. Anyway, there's probably some therapists I could talk to about that.
Yeah, or do an ayahuasca trip, or you know, there's all these new drug.
Have you done that, by the way? Have you done an ayahuasca?
No, I've done some shroomies, a very light dose, but no, never that. I never taken enough drugs to get like high, like marijuana, I guess. With like gummies, but
I just heard Sean Ryan just said that he stopped drinking like a year and a half or 2 years ago, and that he had an ayahuasca thing he did at like this retreat, and he hasn't had a sip. He hasn't had a sip. It actually changed his life for some reason. He was like a full-blown alcoholic, and now he doesn't drink anymore. I mean, he draws the parallel. He says that it was because of that ayahuasca trip, but I've never.
You know what? I've heard Gino Wickman and a lot of people talk about but like I said, I don't know. I almost got into tears just now talking about my youth, and there's a lot of other stuff that I don't even know what's there. And if we go into that, I don't know if I want that. But they say you should be with strangers, not like your closest. Like, be able to open up where there's zero judgment. You know, Cristiano and Anna Yano, they talk about going to this trip for 3 days alone and being in the woods away from your cell phone. I'm like, just have me smiling. I'm like, I don't think that sounds fun. And they're like, everyone wants you to do what you're not doing. Like Dan Martell's trying to get me to break promises. He's like, I want you to practice breaking your word. He goes, that's your downfall. And I said, how does that work? He goes, if you promised the neighbor, the grandma, that you wouldn't mow her lawn for the next 10 years, I'm not asking you to just give up. Hire somebody else to do it because you don't have the time. When you tell somebody that's right for you today, in a year it might not be right for you. You've got to learn to renegotiate your promises. And because he said, if Tommy Mello's dying or dead, what do they say about Tommy? Whenever he shook your hand, he meant it. He always kept his word, I said. He's like, so that's the one thing we need to change, because now you're obligated to do things that may fit you when you were 38, but don't fit you at 41. And you got to renegotiate. He goes, I've had to renegotiate speaking gigs that the people, they got 1,000 people. I couldn't make it. And it's tough, but I make it up to them. But it's something that I've always said, I made an obligation. I'm going to fulfill it. But he's trying to just teach me that what fits you today might not fit you in a year. So it's something I've got. By the way, I'm the best I've ever been, but the worst I'll ever be, because tomorrow I'm going to be a little bit better. That's a saying I came up with years ago. I'm telling you guys all this stuff, especially with you, Everett. I need a lot of work, and I recognize that. And the first thing is I recognize what I need to work on, and I'm a constant work in progress. And this whole idea of EQ is trying to look as if I was the other person looking at me, like a 360 review of myself all the time, and just making sure I'm always the best version of myself. And I can't be perfect all the time. I can't be happy all the time, but I'm constantly working on myself. And I think that that's important, is this reflection of yourself that very few people that I find do it.
Yeah. Self-reflection is really interesting. And I want to go back to something because we didn't talk about it, but you just had this event, right? The Home Service Freedom event. Tell me about this. How did it go? You were speaking. How many people went? It was a couple thousand people there?
We had 1,000. Next year we'll have 2,500. We had Jocko Willick. We had Steve Sims.
I love Jocko, man.
Jocko, really gracious person. He's not as intense as people think. He writes kids' books. He's the baddest ass dude in the planet. The Navy. He's buried most of his friends, but he's very compassionate. It went flawlessly. Yes, there's things we need to work on, but the vendors, I go into these events saying, how do my vendors win? Because I believe in all my vendors. By the way, to even become a vendor, I've had to have used you or have somebody close to me have used you. And the obligation is, if you don't fulfill what you promised my client, the clients that are at these events, you're going to give them their money back. And I want somebody to go to at each one of these companies that I could find out what went wrong if something does. But I really care about their success. So they said, we did 10 times better than all the other events combined. We got a program out. It's like $200 a month. It comes with my newsletter. It comes with all of our training. It's a very, very low price, but they get access to all the rebates that we negotiated with Dan Antonelli, with Kick Charge, and 80 other companies. So what happens is you actually get a check in the mail every quarter from all, whether it's marketing, how you get your shirts, all these different vendors, how you buy trucks. JumpSpark, I can save everybody a fortune on how they buy their fleet and understand how to depreciate it in a different way. But I made all these, we've worked really hard with our team, and it's an amazing team. And so what I tell people is, I make all my money from garage doors. I want you guys to know I do very well. I don't need to make money from this. But you know what I need to do? I need more fractional CFOs to help your companies. I need this, and I need to pay them extremely well. So all the money we get is going into building more and more talent and more processes and more the best manuals, everything. So I'm not going to spend millions of dollars of what I make here and rob Peter to pay Paul. So we charge a fee that allows us to grow this to help your company. It's self-perpetuating. And I just think that that's important, because I don't take a paycheck from that business, but I've got a lot of people depending on that business. So there has to be a fee, and people are like, well, if you're really a billionaire or going to be, why do you do Facebook ads? And I'm like, because I'm trying to build a company with the money we bring in from that business to help your business and make a difference in the world of home service. And I don't think people understand that. And there's a lot of haters, but you know something, Everett? All my haters out there, and there's a lot of them, it's not the same as Victor. He talks about it all the time. I mean, I don't dwell on it, but they're undercover fans of mine. I know they are. Who else would take the time to watch a video and make a comment? And if they like it or not, it bothered me for a little bit, because I'm like, you don't even know me. You don't know my heart. Now I'm like, man, there's a lot of people that live in their grandma's basement that have nothing better to do than talk anonymously about someone online. It's pretty interesting.
What kind of criticism?
Oh, some of my videos, they're like, this guy's got no idea what he's talking about. This guy, he can't make that much in garage doors. And it's not really, I don't go out of my way to say how much I make, or, those guys, they charge too much. Those guys are just a sales company. They never take care of the clients. And it's always the companies that are just barely getting by. It's always the businesses that they've never built anything. And they're so timid and shallow and envious and jealous. And they go, you're ripping customers off. I'm like, here's how I price. I want cold air conditioning in the summer. I want new trucks. I want the best software. I want to take my people on trips. I want to feed them often. I want to make sure they got insurance, PTO. They get a dream manager. I want to add it all up. And I want the company to have a very healthy profit. And then I reverse engineer that, and those are my prices. It's not go find out what all the losers are doing that are barely getting by and beat their prices and offer a little bit more, because that's a race to the bottom. And I tell people, my prices won't work for you. Your prices should be, where do you want to profit? It's crazy to me. It's crazy. That's probably the biggest one is, oh, that Tommy guy. Yeah, if you want to do what he does. And I'm like,
it's the same song though, Tommy, in every industry. Like we've heard it for years. Like companies that offer an amazing service, do amazing things for customers. They happen to be at a premium. They treat their employees well. They do things like give them insurance and they give them a place to live and work. And it's like, hey, you know what? That gets passed along to the customer, but for a purchase you're going to do once every 10, 15, 20 years, like let's get a life here, right? You're not operating like a Mickey Mouse operation here. You're operating something, so it's just, I think the value proposition for premium companies, I'd always say if I could go with a premium, I'd rather have the premium company. I'd rather have the company that actually charges a little bit more so that I could actually have a better experience. And you know what? You know what's going to happen, Tommy? You're going to be there when they need something, right?
Yes.
Like something goes wrong, like, oh, they're going to be there. Not like, oh, I just called this number and they won't honor the warranty. They won't honor the guarantees. They're not going to come back. This thing's squeaking and I can't get anybody back in my house. I'm guessing that is like a no-no for your guys, right? Like somebody wouldn't call up and you'd be like, no, we're not coming back out there, right? I mean, you're probably standing behind 100% money back guarantees.
Same day, night, weekends, holidays. I want to share a quick story with you. I invited every garage door company to come to my seminar upstairs. It was 40 of them. I gave them a tour of my facility. And I said, guys, I want to make this industry better. We got to elevate the whole industry. And we've been doing that. And I said, in HVAC, and this was years ago, I said a good unit, a Goodman 5-ton unit, or maybe even a train, it's $2,500. They sell for about 15 grand. Let's just take a 7X. Let's take I said, I showed them in roofing. I drew it on gutters. I drew it on painting. I drew it on fencing. I did it on a hot water heater. And I said, let's just take 7X. How much does a door and an opener cost? Like a good door, insulated with a steel back with a good opener. And someone said, our cost, and we've had 25 price increases, our vendors. But back then it was $1,500. And I said, so let's use 7. So 10,500. How many of you guys are selling a door for 10,500 with the whole package and the opener and the trim? No hands. And I said, how about 8,000? There was one hand, I think. And one guy goes, how would you be able to sleep at night when you know you're ripping the client off? And he goes, I don't know how you would sleep at night. And I said, great. Let me ask you guys a question. How many of you guys have insurance, PTO, billboards, have brand new vehicles, train your guys, buy them $5,000 worth of tools? How many of you guys train your guys for 2 months before they're allowed to work on a client's house? How many of you guys got a team that if there's a warranty that they could honor the warrant, like Safety Eyes? We got a whole Verts team that handles that. How many of you guys take your people on a trip to Mexico every year? How many of you guys do a 401k match? And I went on, and I said, and no hands. And I said, so let me ask you this. You shit on your employees so you could give your customers a good deal. How the hell do you sleep at night? You literally rip off your family and your coworkers in order to give a good deal, how do you sleep? Every single company shook my hand and said, I'm raising my prices when they left. Like, you pay your guys $45,000 and wonder why they don't want to come to work. That's not even a livable wage.
Yeah.
And you wonder why, by the way, 10,000 baby boomers a day retiring, 12% of them own a business. It is the day for blue collar. We are winning. No AI is going to take our job. And I'm telling you, I am proud to say I'm a garage door technician. I'm proud to say I'm a blue collar guy. I love what I do. And and it's our day. It's our time to shine. And now all these companies are like, I want to get into the garage door, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, roofing. I'm like, good luck. We've been doing this 2 decades. We're an overnight success of 2 decades. But I help them. I'm just saying it's not an easy road. It's not an easy road, and private equity understands they need founder-based companies. It's systematic. But you got to understand, our technicians, they didn't have a mom growing up. Some of them didn't pass 10th grade. Some of them have a lot going on with alcohol, possibly drugs. I understand that side of it, and I could talk to them and treat them great. So I call myself the tech whisperer, because I could have a great conversation with the private equity, but I understand the fundamentals of where these guys are coming from. And I love that. And it's not easy. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot going on in their heads. My job is to make sure they believe in themselves. That's my job, is to say, until you're happy about yourself, the way you look, your smile, the way you treat people, and until you believe in yourself 100%, there's no way you can't go to a client and get them to buy when you don't even believe in yourself. So that's my mission, and I'm just getting started. I mean, we're going to do some cool stuff that we're going to change the world. We will change the world in this industry, not just through garage doors. I've got a whole plan, and I'm executing, and the world will be changed. It's going to change so drastically. We're going to have so much impact. I just can't wait, and I've got an amazing team to help me deploy this. So
before we go, I know we're winding down here. We got about 5 minutes left, maybe if that. But I want to ask one question, and this is something very interesting. Obviously, you've been in Forbes and you're published. You've got a couple of books that you've written. When did you start to get the sense that you were like, I don't know, like at this point in time, you're like, wow, I'm like really well known. Like, I'm like this is crazy. Like, I'm kind of famous in a way. When did that light bulb like kind of happen?
Well, 2 quick stories. Number one, I was in Hawaii in 2015. Josh Kelly was there. A lot of people I didn't know. Gannett paid for the trip, and all these menus had this crazy little initials on there, MP. And I was like, MP, there's no money. I didn't know that meant market price. But I'm like, I'm ordering as much as I could. I was at a table of 10 people, and I'm like, we'll take that, everything with MP I'm ordering. And the bill came, and I shoved my card in there without looking at it. And I reflected, and I'm like, if a girl ordered filet mignon on a date, I was getting soup. I mean, I was always tight. That's the day I felt like I actually knew I had made it. It was a great feeling reflecting at that. And then another story, where was I going to go with this? So Cody Bateman would send out cards. We got on a podcast. He's like, dude, you're the real deal. He's like, I'm blown away by you. Will you come speak at my event? There'll be 1,000 people. And I'm like, absolutely. I'll be ready. And he goes, just do me a favor. I'm going to give you an hour. Don't go under and don't go over. Because it's disrespectful if you go over. Like, I've had people do that. And by the way, the most people I talked in front of is 25 people at this point. So I'm like, 1 hour. I'm practicing. And I walk out, and I decided in the back to write all the notes in permanent marker on my arms. And I got a speaking coach for this. And I walked out there. I'm wearing a light blue shirt. And I go, how many people flew here to be at this event? And I go, just like you, I flew here and I had this whole thing, but I was nervous as hell, and my shirt's soaking, and it's all these lights. And after that, I kind of like popped the cherry the hard way in front of 1,000 people. And then I was like, bam, I'm going to speak again. Bam, I'm going to speak again. And all of a sudden, the podcast started to grow. Now it's number 8 in North America for business, the home service expert. And I put my time, energy, and I just built, listen to this, I built a committee that will be listening to the podcast. And if there's not 100% value, we pull the bits and pieces out that are. And if there's not a lot of value in the whole podcast, it never gets aired. And it's going to change people's lives. It's continued at 210,000 downloads a month. But it's going to level up. That's the only way I know how to do things. Level up, level up, level up. But we're going to these events, and I mean, I feel like I'm Tom Cruise, and I used to get kind of annoyed with it. It's so funny because Anna Yano is funny. We're at these events, and I told her, I'm like, you know what I do? I walk up to people and I hug them. I'm like, how are you? And because they're like, oh my God, Tommy Mello. And she's like, me too. So we were at the event. We were at Pantheon. I might have been at the Home Service Freedom event. And she goes, Tom, you're going to laugh so hard. She's like, so I'm giving there. I'm doing what you do. I'm giving hugs. And then I get a tap on the shoulder. I turn around and I give a hug. She goes, it was the server. The restaurant server. But now I'm like, look, Bree, I'm like, I realize I get attacked and people want to take pictures and they want to ask me questions, but this is the best compliment I could ever receive. Like, these people have listened to 350 hours of me. They know my life just as well as I do. They feel like they were raised with me. They talk about my dogs. I've never met them before. If you spent, I mean, how much is that? That's a crazy amount. And there's a lot of people that have listened to every single episode of my podcast. I'm up to like 393. And I'm like, they know me and they want to talk to me. So I'm just like, I hate to be Tom Cruise where I can't even break away to Italy or Germany or Spain and everywhere is attacking, because I get a little dose of it and I appreciate it. But it's one of those things, man, where I'm like, dude, what really put me on the map was doing the deal with private equity. People are like, man, this guy's the real deal. Like, they knew it was real. I was on the map before, but that was a whole new level.
Yeah, there's that guy on TikTok too that I saw you, and I randomly saw you. I actually didn't even know you were on there. You hadn't plugged it, but the dude on TikTok goes, "Hey, what did you driving this Rolls Royce? What do you do out here in Tampa to be driving a Rolls Royce?" And he speaks to people for like 5 minutes at a clip.
Yeah, School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah, School of Hard Knocks, dude. Love that. And he, I guess you were in Scottsdale, and right, you were in Scottsdale, and he saw you, and I guess you came out of a vehicle and there you go. That was pretty cool, man. I love that. That was cool that you got the chance. You're the second plumber, home services guy that I know that actually got pulled to the side in that School of Hard Knocks one.
He's a cool kid, man. And I learned a lot from him. He came in here, shot a bunch of content. And like I said, I'm in the first inning, bro. I mean, look, either you're going to have to kill me or handcuff me to a chair, because I'm coming. And I'll tell you this, I'm going to fail and I'm going to get back up, because I tend to fall forward. And all I know is it's going to be very, very hard. And I don't wish nothing bad about the haters. And I love Ishmael and my core people and Hoffman and Yano, but I'm just getting started. I'm not even close to my destination. I don't know what the destination is. It's probably death, but I'm coming. And I'm just getting started. So you guys, if you like popcorn, grab a soda, get some licorice, and get ready, because it's going to be a great movie.
Love it.
And
man.
I'm going.
Dude, I'm super thankful and grateful that you came on and we spent this time together. Anything you want to plug before we sign off here, man? I really do appreciate you.
If you like what I put out there, TommyMello.com's got all my social media. And if you get a chance, I did a really cool podcast recently with Leland Smith. And I think people should listen to that at the Home Service Expert podcast. And if you like my podcast, just like if you like Everett's, you should really leave a review and share it and comment. It doesn't take long. If you got 5 close people, send it to them and tell them they need to listen to it, because it really is the best compliment we could ever receive. And it really makes a difference. And if you like the message, share it. It'll help Everett out. If you like my stuff, share it, like it. It boosts the algorithm. It means a lot to me. I always ask for reviews. I always ask for shares, because that's the way I was trained, man. I ask. I ASK.
Love it. Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it, dude. I know you're out of time here, man. I really, really do. All right, guys. I'll see you.
Appreciate it. Had a blast.